Hey, what's up, everybody? This is Paul for real. We are here today to not talk about reptiles, but talk about cool, cute, cuddly little Kinkajous that we can say are cool, cute, and cuddly. Look at great pictures, but Alexandra Ashe and Mike are going to explain to us why they may not make the best pet for everybody. What is going on tonight, guys? How are you?
Hi,
Hi, Paul.
how's it going?
Awesome. So, um, why don't you guys go ahead and kind of introduce yourselves? And I'm gonna, while you're doing that, I'm gonna text to my kids and tell them to get off the internet.
Awesome. Okay, so my name's Alexandra Ashe. I am the CEO and founder of Kinkatopia. Kinkatopia is the only Kinkajou specific sanctuary in the whole entire world. We advise people against getting Kinkajous as pets. But on the flip side of that, the overall mission is to help all Kinkajous in captivity. So therefore, those that are in internationally, whether it's zoos, sanctuaries, private owners, we talk about enrichment, husbandry, diet, everything to make sure that these animals have a complete holistic quality of life. So that is the overall mission. And Michael, my fiance here.
I am Mike Evans, owner of Marble Reptiles LLC, and also acting as safety and security for the animals for Kinkatopia. My main role is to always ensure that safety and security, not just that we're following USDA, we're following the state, and performing actual checks and making sure that the animals are safe, they're safe from harm to another person and to ourselves.
And that's great. And before we started recording, I had mentioned something about safety and security. So for those that have watched the show, you guys all know I'm in the pharmaceutical field, and we check, double check, triple check, verify. So one of the things that just came up was the escaped cobra and how did it get out? And I thought, I don't have 200 animals. I don't have 500 cages. And it's real easy for me to say, hey, I came in here, I cleaned 3 animals. There's 3 locks, we're good. And I don't know how you guys do your security, but what I've done is I've actually created a form. When I'm done servicing venomous, I will go out and get, whether it's my wife, one of my boys, they'll come in, they'll date it, they'll sign it, and they'll go through and check all the venomous locks to make sure everything's locked, and then they'll initial the end. And I thought, I complain a lot about the whole verification thing, but now I sit back and I think about it. I say, man, how many times have we been in the middle of doing something? And I'm sure you guys have had this happen. Your phone goes off and you stop for a second and you walk away and it's like, oh, what was I just doing? And then you go back and you're like, ooh, that door was open. And thank God the animal's still in there, but it's happened. I've done it with bigger boas. I've done it with the small boas where I get a call and I get going. So what do you guys do? What's your procedure to go through and verify after handling, moving, cleaning, servicing, whatever you want to call it?
Sure. For the Kinkajous, I think first and foremost, what it starts with is our caging goes above and beyond FWC standard for a class 3 mammal, so all of our caging has double doors. I think each cage has like 3 or 4 locks on it. Mm-hmm. We have lockouts for the animals and their feeding area, so we can lock them out to be able to feed them. We can lock them in if we have to enter the cages at night, if they're aggressive. But I think those are the main things. And then it's lots of signage. We have signs everywhere. These animals will bite anytime I do any type of, and I don't really do tours or interactions anymore, but I learned very early on that people didn't understand the magnitude of the damage these animals can inflict on someone. Mm-hmm. So I do have a full presentation and tutorial where it's, 10 bullet points and it's Kinkajou etiquette 101, and we have that posted around as well. Every single night, because Kinkajou is nocturnal, so I do, and I'm the primary caretaker. I mean, I always say Michael takes care of the house. He makes sure I'm fed. He makes sure that, the house is clean. But when it comes to the hands-on animal care, I'm the one who's doing it on a routine basis. Michael and I communicate with a lot of stuff, like you mentioned with the security, as far as, and he'll elaborate in that with checking of the locks and, making sure that they're not rusting or, the cameras, but also on a nightly basis, I go around, I feed the animals, obviously. I have OCD. I have clinically diagnosed OCD. So it's a blessing and a curse for me with as many locks as we have in this house. But so I have rituals. So if I stop in the middle of something, I have to start all over again. And my whole sweep has to go all over again, you know, which then will also include a perimeter check. You know, it's obsessively checking the locks, you know, so it gets to be quite a feat, and making it as simple as, you know, here I'm saying I'm the primary caretaker. These animals generally gravitate towards one person. So our unit is very small with them. So. So what ends do you pick up?
One of the most important things I do is I always check to make sure liability. So one thing is, you know, always double checking our cameras, making sure camera feeds are positioned the way they are, and not just for people coming here, you know, outside circumstances. And it doesn't have to be people related. It could be, you know, freak storm, you know, someone crashes their car, you know, onto your property, like things, you know, extreme, but necessary, and always checking and rechecking. So if there's a noise and alert, nothing's ever just like, it's just a machine doing what it's supposed to be doing. No, it's got to be checked. And also to visual checks. I know when I come home from work and you know, me and Alex have somewhat of an opposite schedule, there's always a check. I always, I know when I get home, I'm checking that gate, making sure the gate is secured. You know, something didn't happen, you know, because things rust, you know, wood sometimes will break. So it's always double checking and rechecking these things to ensure that the animals are secured.
Yeah, staying ahead of ourselves. These guys are smart.
Hurricane prep and oh yeah, that's the other one. Always making sure after hurricane season ends, I always do an inventory of our supplies, and I ensure that we're always going to be prepared for hurricane prep, because, you know, us living in Florida, you know,
we're going through it right now.
Whew, I know you guys are, and I know it's not so much towards our way, but always making sure we are prepared. And I can honestly say every year we are on point, not just with supplies in the house, but we're going to follow through with our disaster plan and have everything set up to ensure the animal.
We even had to invest in as our census got larger with the Kinkajous, we had to invest in storage, off-site storage, so we can keep extra hurricane housing and stuff there. So I mean, we were just Elsa with rolling through, you know, northern Florida now. We've been basically on call, waiting to see, do we need to pull everything out of storage? You know, is it ready? Is it go time? Like, so yeah, there's a lot.
I think there's a lot to be said for what we do down here in Florida, and I'm sure people that don't live down here don't really understand. You know, obviously everybody has their thing. I'm originally from Buffalo, New York. We have snow. So when I say snow, I mean like.
No, Pennsylvania, we get it. You get it harder, but we're Pennsylvania.
So same thing. So, you know, everybody has their little thing, but I think what the biggest thing that we have down here is, and you know, I'll preach a lot about, you know, getting along with our fish and wildlife people. I know that they're not right a lot of times, but we have to get along with them. I have custom built cages here. My investigator, Damon Saunders, called me up and said, hey, I already sent your paperwork in. Don't worry. And I'm like, oh, I hate when a conversation starts with, don't worry. It's horrible. But he's like, I don't think you can use those because it's plastic and they break. And I'm like, well, there's a lot of plastic things out there that break. But as I was getting more upset with, like, I know they're secure, I had to think in my mind that it's his purview. If he says no, the answer is no. We all have to respect that. So I think, you know, seeing your posts and seeing what you guys are doing, it looks extremely cool. And how does the class 3 mammal stuff work with Fish and Wildlife? What do you guys have to maintain with USDA and Fish and Wildlife?
Well, let's get the funny one out of the way. First, give them the money.
Yes.
So they want the money first.
No, that's not true. That's not with.
Listen, I put that check in the mail on Monday. By Monday at 4 o'clock, it's already cashed.
That's the joke with down here with FWC, and then like 6 months to get your permit back.
Yes. But
listen, Michael and I have different experiences with FWC, and maybe it's the animals that we keep and the license, you know, permits our names are in. I have an extremely good relationship with Fish and Wildlife. They've always had my back, and it's just as simple as over asking and over communicating.
Yep.
So, you know, class 3, I don't have an animal that, I have an animal that can inflict damage on someone, but they're not viewed that way as obviously an animal of a higher class. But, you know, and like I said, our caging goes above and beyond. We meet all requirements or we exceed it. So, you know, when Inspector Eric Howell is our guy when he's in alligator and to see, and the venomous, yes, I know, and the venomous. And when he's here, he's like, well, since I'm here, I'll file a report on Kinkatopia. He doesn't have to come and inspect me. He doesn't have to do anything for me unless someone were to report something, you know, or God forbid that there was a bite and someone went to the hospital and, you know, said, I got bit by a Kinkajou, you know, so really it's like no news is good news. I mean, and as far as the USDA, same thing there. Inspector Megan Adams, my God, that woman has my heart. I treasure her. She retires at the end of this year and I will miss her. But I mean, she's been nothing but an anchor in my whole journey. I've had USDA for I think 5 years now. You know, and even for USDA and Fish and Wildlife, I had a relapse over 4 years ago. I'm a recovering heroin addict, and both of those agencies had to come into play and, you know, help with the drama and rumors going around about me at the time. And both of these people showed up and they were supportive, you know, and they helped to make sure that I could go and get the care that I needed. The animals were okay. And so I really have nothing but good praises to say about them. I've been very lucky.
Knock on wood, same here. I've had no issues, you know, I mean, none at all, which is fantastic. And, you know, like I said, they're not right a lot of the time, but they are, in essence, our bosses, right? I mean, that's how I look at it, is they can tell you yes or no, period. So I always try to be professional, always overdo, you know, when you come into my room, I have emergency lighting, all the obvious stuff, but emergency lighting, I'm working on my IND, you know, there's a ton of stuff that I'm going to do to stay ahead, the verification of closing cages. And it sounds like for security purposes, you guys are the same way. And, you know, like you alluded to before, in my honest opinion, I would rather get bitten by one of these boas than a kinkajou. And I'm sorry, I've been bitten by fluffy animals and it sucks.
Yeah,
so,
it does.
Yeah, it does.
It's painless. It goes away in a few minutes. You bleed a little bit and then you're done. I've been bitten by, fuzzy things scare me, you know? And I have pictures up where I went a year ago. We went to Single Vision. We met the two baby white lions, and because we know Carl, and then we got to go in and play with them, and they were amazing. And then I went in the last time we were there. So they're about a year and 4 or 5 months old now. So they're very large. And Vati didn't want anything to do with me. She was very, very standoffish. But Timba let me pet him, and it was an amazing experience. And I tell people all the time, you know, then you get to go up and play with the baby bears, and they bite real hard. So, nope, I just push them away, and here's your toy, go that way. I don't want to, I'm good just to sit here and watch you guys play, you know. So you said you don't do tours. How many Kinkajous do you have on site now?
At this moment, we have 17. So, yeah, we have 17. And the sanctuary, our house has been remodeled to have the sanctuary both inside and outside. We're sitting on less than a quarter acre. So we have really maximized, our space, but we're in Boca Raton. Yep. The goal right now is to get employed by Kinkatopia myself, and then work towards getting land and opening up a public nocturnal sanctuary. Okay. So we've got 17. One is boarding, short term. 2 are here long term. They've been here well over 6 months, and then 14 are ours. Okay. You know, and we've really, I mean, listen, we could play Tetris and we could very easily probably add a couple more cages. But as far as the standard we like to uphold, but the attention these animals require, you know, and that's what it is. It's these 14 lives, 14, 16, 17.
Yeah.
They need that connection. They need that connection.
Are they similar? I want to say you have 17 children there because that's, I mean, are they, I hear people say like parrots and large birds are very attention oriented.
Yes.
And if you leave them alone, they'll pull feathers out, they'll do stuff like that. Now, how are the Kinkajous? Are they the same way?
Very much. Very much, and especially being mammals where they need that connection with some other warm-blooded being. You know, even our most aggressive Kinkajous that we can't go in the cage with, they still want me or someone, because I do have an intern who just turned board member, and we're looking to take on another intern or two. So we do take on volunteers that, you know, can act closely and regularly and get to know the animals. I do have a volunteer event once a month. And where those people might not go in the cages, they go around and, you know, I tell people, you know, here are the treats, they tongue feed them because we don't want fingers in that cage.
Yep.
And I say, connect with the animals because that's what they want. They want to look in the, they want to hear your voice, you know, they just absorb it. But they do, they very much require that. If they're not appropriately enriched, you know, if they're not appropriately stimulated, they'll pluck their fur. Okay. They've been known to pluck their fur, or they can grow very aggressive, you know, and inconsolable, you know. So there's this level of, like I mentioned earlier, holistically, you know, keeping them stimulated, making sure they have the right diet, making sure they have space. So when I troubleshoot with people and they're calling me and they're saying, oh my God, I can't handle my Kinkajou anymore, these are the first, you know, the first listing I go to try to troubleshoot. And usually it's one of these items that the Kinkajou's not being fulfilled the way that it should be. But we always joke and say, you know, we've got 17 perpetual toddlers. We are not having children. We have children. So, you know, these are our kids.
I have kids, and if you'd like to borrow them, you guys are more than welcome. Good Lord.
No, that's okay.
They're all old. Well, listen.
No, it's fine.
They're all older now. They're 22 or 23, 21, 19.
Oh, wait.
16.
So
maybe we could do that. Never mind. We take it back.
So the only problem is, listen, the only problem is the 19-year-old, my daughter, she's lazy, does nothing. She'll tell you that.
All right. Well,
but she's
it's not an all or nothing thing, is it?
Yeah. You know, no, they're great. And I always tell people that part of my animal thing has always been my wife and my kids, because my wife knew how much I loved it. So it was, hey, if we're going to go to a reptile show, we're all going to do it together. If we're going to go to the zoo, we're all going to do it together. If we're going to go to somebody's facility, we're all going to do it together. So we've always worked really hard at doing that stuff. And it was, I remember back in February when I did my first episode with, he's going to kill me, Rob from Nerd.
Nice.
And I almost called him and
it's Rob Christian, I think.
Yeah.
Okay.
Creeping it real. Rob's Creeping It Real. He actually, a few years ago, did our tour. We did a private tour there. My son played college lacrosse and was in the national championship at Foxborough. And we drove up and did a private tour at Nerd, which was amazing, well worth it, absolutely awesome. Didn't get to meet Kevin because he's socially awkward. But we hung out with Rob and the guys there, and we had a blast. So, but I almost canceled because I've said a million times I wanted to do this, but it was like getting started was so hard. So what made you jump in to 17 Kinkajous? Because that's a big number. Listen, for those of you that don't know, Google Kinkajou and picture 17 of them in your bedroom. It would be cute. Yeah.
That just sounds like a bad time. Oh my God.
Well, because you know this. So but I
know.
So it's like I've seen like 4 of them, you know, in a cage, and I'm like, oh, Sam, those are so cute. She's like, don't put your fingers in there. And I'm like, why not? She, don't put your fingers in there. I told you don't. And I was like, okay. She's like, if you want to hold one, we have one over here. Take this one. And I'm like, oh, this thing is so cute. And I'm like, okay, it's scratching me. It does not want to be with me. Get here, take it, you know? So what made you jump into that? because that's enormous responsibility.
Well, so I used to have another animal organization.
Okay.
And it like, you know, like I said, I'm in recovery. So I came down here to get sober. Mike came down far before me to get sober, but Michael and I, we met in 2014. We've been together for 7 years.
Okay.
So we moved in very quickly. We're very good alcoholics. You know, we like 3 weeks later, we were like living together. And I had really been into reptiles when I lived in Pennsylvania. That was my first love, you know, as a teenager. And I like to share when people ask this that my mother's side is Doolittle. So I'm like literally a descendant of, you know, Dr.
Doolittle.
The animals walk, you know, so we lived and breathed it, you know, my whole life. So I was very into it, moved down here, moved in with Michael, and I took him to underground, right? This was before I made the decision to like live with him. Mm-hmm. He like, were talking about it, but so I took him to underground. He'd never seen it before. And you've always had a passion.
I've been to underground before.
No, you hadn't?
Yes, I was.
Okay.
I have pictures.
Okay. Well, he has pictures, so it must have happened. But anyway, so we went to underground together for the first time.
Okay.
And it just totally sparked like the reptile thing again. So I ended up with him, taking him reptiles, taking in, people were giving us KINKAJOUS who were at the end of their life, you know, or to rehab. And it was just like, all of a sudden we had all these reptiles, people are giving us reptiles. Then I got into the sugar gliders, you know, and then it just like, everyone was contacting me with animals that needed homes. So I got exposed to the Amnesty Day, right? And for Florida Fish and Wildlife, be an adopter, you could be a dealer. And I was like, oh, okay, so wait, I could do this. I can be like a safe haven and find appropriate homes. So my first organization was just a giant unorganized manifestation of, I'm going to take in absolutely whatever I can. Once I took in 72 hamsters. So I didn't say no to anything. I know. I didn't say no to anything. And I was in recovery and I was not taking care of myself. And back to old days, you know, I wasn't telling people that I needed help. I was superwoman, you know, and all this. And I went back to using. But the year before I picked up my drug again, I met a Kinkajou. And I'm always extremely honest with this. And that's, I met a Kinkajou within 48 hours. I took a loan out from my bank and I went out and bought one. Totally expensive. Yeah.
Jumping in.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
I didn't know what the hell I was doing. You know, my friend who had one, I mean, it was still a baby, but you know, Michael and I fell in love with it. So, so I brought home Arkham, who's like the foundation of all of this. And, I did everything that people told me not to. They said, get him neutered. He's going to get aggressive. I said, no, not my guy. I'm going to be different. Everything was always, I'm going to be different. You know, I'm going to let him free roam the house. And they're saying that's a terrible idea. I'm going to be different. I take him out in public. That's a bad idea. No. You don't know me and my Kinkajou. And then I got a second Kinkajou, financed that one. So, I guess Gotham wasn't necessarily as impulsive, but you know, it just, again, it still speaks to, obviously she wasn't planned enough because I couldn't even afford her, but we brought her home and I did the best that I could, but research was very slim. And even the season keepers, like on Facebook, I even got kicked out of a Facebook group because I was taking Arkham out in public and they were like, it's setting a bad example. I was like, okay, now I see it. And I'm like, oh my God, but I had no idea.
Yeah.
So Arkham started biting people. I relapsed. Michael cared for the Kinkajous while I was in treatment. Of other animals that went to a sanctuary for safekeeping, and unfortunately that veers off into a story for a different time, but we were never able to locate those animals after that. But fortunately Michael kept Arkham in Gotham and he and my neighbor cared for them. And 2 days after I got out of treatment, I'm cuddling Arkham and it was the most violent Kinkajou attack that I've personally had. And he went after me, you know, so I entered into this year where I stayed off of social media because people weren't very kind. They
You got dragged for the market.
yeah, there was a lot of drama, there were a lot of rumors, there was a lot of stuff that happened with my relapse, and I got ostracized from social media. I take full responsibility for relapsing, using drugs 100%, but the animal community can be very judgmental in aspects that maybe we don't see, in day-to-day life.
We know that, and I'll speak on that. It was just people just, you know, they insert their opinion, and what they don't know is the facts of everything.
Okay, so I want to cut in right here, and I want to say something. First of all, to both of you, congratulations. It takes a very big person to come out and talk about that, and it's something that we've dealt with in my family. Fortunately for me, I've been strong enough to not go down that road. So congratulations. Thank you for being so honest. And as far as people being judgmental, I will say this to you people watching: walk a mile in somebody else's shoes before you judge them. Period. That's a big deal. So regardless of what happens, we all have had something happen in our lives that hold us away from something. Whether it's the loss of a friend, a loved one, you know, drug addiction, alcoholism, you get pulled away from something, and people don't realize just how hard it affects people. It affects people differently. So you guys and what you're doing is amazing, you know? So, okay, sorry. I just had to interject that, because if I didn't.
No, and that's very sweet. And that's a very good way to put it. And I mean, in reflecting on it now, I just look at it as, you know, it's all fear-based. You know, people fear what they don't know. You know, like Michael said, they make up their own minds about things. So so Arkham started biting. I was a year away from the animal rescue world. My organization had been completely dissolved, and you know, I was left to the internet and calling veterinarians for help with what am I going to do with my Kinkajou. And I didn't like any of the answers they gave me, which was, you need to get rid of him. Oh, don't waste your time neutering him. Like, there was no solution.
I was going to add in, so, and Paul, and at that time, there actually is no like expert on captive Kinkajous. I think the only person we had that, and he's still studying Kinkajous, this guy Roland K, who Roland K, he is the expert on Kinkajous, but
wild
in the
Kinkajous
wild,
only,
there was no captive expert.
And that's in itself can be difficult, because the wild and captivity are two different things. You know, vastly different things. And you know, I could only imagine, and people say, well, you shouldn't keep something like that if it does that. Well, listen, that's an animal. They can't communicate with you. They can't say, hey, don't touch my hand like that, it hurts. Michael, if you grabbed her arm right now and she had a bruise and you hurt her, she would slap you. The same way my wife would. I would get smacked, and I would say, ow, what was that for? And she would say, duh, I have a bruise. But that animal can't tell you that.
Right.
So the only way they can tell us anything is by lashing out. And people are going to make their judgments. And I'll be honest with you, I don't know what happened. Personally, don't care. I follow you guys, and again, I love what you're doing, and I love the enthusiasm and passion. And I say enthusiasm because you had 17 Kinkajou. Forget the 17 Kinkajou. You had 72 hamsters. What the? I don't even know what to say to that. That's a plethora of hamsters.
Yeah. You don't need to go there in this podcast either.
Yeah, a bunch of little rats running around.
But I saw a need. I needed help, and where I actually ended up finding some kind of solution. Because remember, at this point too, I'm in the first year of sobriety, so looking for a solution. I'm literally relearning how to live my life as a sober woman. and everything's solution based, right? So where was the solution going to be? And on a whim, I contacted Aneth McCarthy's Wildlife Sanctuary.
Okay.
She
Yep.
took time to talk to me for like an hour on the phone, and she shared her experience, which was she had the same experience with one of her boys, you know, and she told me, she said, you need to realize that your relationship has changed, find a way to have a relationship with this animal, you know, and you made a commitment to him, so you need to show up for him. So I was like, wait, she's literally speaking my language right now. So someone who has more experience than me is telling me what to do, which is what I was doing in my sobriety. So I'm like, okay. And that's when it flipped. So ironically, when I was getting high, I managed to fill out and apply for all the paperwork for a 501c3 nonprofit for the IRS. So I did all that myself, crazy, at the mindset I was in. But when I was in rehab, I think one of the first couple weeks or one of the first visits Michael had with me, he brought that acceptance letter. So for this whole year, I was sitting on the nonprofit license, and we were like, we're just going to wait and come back to it.
Mm-hmm.
I said to Mike, I want to do this for Kinkajous. And what did you say?
I laughed at the idea and I said, sure, because there's no way. I said, this is not going to work.
Mm-hmm.
There's just no way. No one's going to give you Kinkajous because, you know, they're not necessarily like a $5 pet. So
Yeah.
Hand over, you know, some of the equivalent to like a car to somebody.
Yeah.
I laughed at it. I said, go for it, honey.
But he yesed me to death. He yesed me to death. You did. And you helped me. So at this point, we just had like this indoor space, right? The whole back half of our house is remodeled, and to be, you know, to have animals. So I kept, I had red foxes at one point, and they stayed in. So we spent a weekend in March of 2018. We gutted that room, and we made like the first most like amateur version of this Kinkajou enclosure that was like, and my idea at that time was like, I'll have 10 of them and they'll all live in this space in harmony. Even then I didn't know, but like my gut told me, like all along, I've known in me that there was a need for this. So we finished the room. I started an Instagram account, Kinkatopia. Within 48 hours, I had my phone call for Chloe, and she came in March of 2018. So our first year took in 4, and it was like every 2 months, it was like another one. And then it was like
17.
Space. Yeah. We're out of space, so we need to start building cages. And then I was like, wait, we don't have funding. I need to start networking with places. So to date, I'm riding up on 60 in addition to the ones that we've helped here, but I also am like a fancy matchmaker. So I work with zoos, sanctuaries, incredible private owners. Like if they have a Kinkajou, they have experience, they need a companion, I do place them permanently, and they act as extensions to Kinkatopia, because we learned very early on we can't do this alone.
Okay.
Too, she was able to study a lot of these animals in captivity, so she was able. That's why a lot of these zoos, sanctuaries, police department, all, you know, when it comes to Kinkajou captivity expert, they're calling because there's so many. She was able to see all the profile of different personalities, and she already did the legwork of, you know, this works versus this does not work, with consulting, you know, vets. And that's how she was able to gain this knowledge. So you go in any group, anytime someone brings up the word Kinkajou, it's always going to be bringing up Alex's name.
That's awesome.
You know, as far as I know, I have not seen anyone mention who else is a better expert of Kinkajous in captivity than Alex.
Yeah,
it's created a community.
Yeah, it's great that you've focused on something that, I mean, like I said, there's probably a lot of people that are going to say, I don't even know what that is. But you've focused on something that is, and obviously there's a need for it. Obviously there's a need for somebody to be there to help. And, you know, I saw your TikTok thing, 1 million, what are they called, followers? I have 74. Yes. You know, listen, I discovered TikTok 4 or 5 months ago, and my wife was working second shift with my daughter from 2 to 10. So I would take the dogs upstairs and bring them in the room with me, and we would cuddle. And I was like, oh, I want to see this TikTok thing. So I started watching TikTok. Now I'm addicted to it. I hate to say it, I'm a TikTok addict. And it's like an hour before bed. And sometimes it's almost 2 hours because the videos are so funny that I just can't stop.
Oh my God, yeah. It's like 4 in the morning and you're like,
yeah.
Yeah.
But that's a great thing too. And, you know, social media is going to play such a big part, obviously, for you guys. And that's, unfortunately, that's life now. It's all social media. It's no longer the self-addressed stamped envelope, which is where I came up in. I don't know about you, Mike, but that was the self-addressed stamped envelope, and send it out for that price list and wait for Tom Crutchfield and Ron St. Pierre and all these big guys to send out. And God, I hate that I just sent Tom Crutchfield, but I did, because I sent stuff in, you know, back in the day. You know, that was these are the guys that you open up Reptiles magazine, and those are the guys. And you know, Alex, this is you. You know, this is where you're that person right now. And that's awesome. You know, I mean, I hate like I'm a manager at work, but I hate being told that I'm a manager. Like, I hate saying I'm your boss, but I'm an expert in absolutely nothing. So to see that you have this background in these animals, and I guess the best way to put it, Mike, you said it, the profile different indoor animals is awesome. So what do you find is the most asked question of you? What are you hearing the most from people?
For me, everyone asks this: what is a Kinkajou?
It's literally what I'm
literally probably believe it or not, that is the most common question I think's ever asked.
What is a Kinkajou? Or even more sickening, where can I get one? And that's been like this huge battle. Like, what is a Kinkajou? Like, obviously that one I can deal with. That's cool. It's fine. Where can I get one? And that's been, it's social media. I was just interviewed for National Public Radio for an article about, well, when I was interviewed, I didn't know whether the reporter was for or against, what her standpoint was for exotic animals in social media, primarily TikTok. You know, a blessing or a curse. Fortunately, you know, I was able to speak my piece, but it was interesting to see that all of the other large accounts that she interviewed, we all said the same thing. And that was, you know, these animals shouldn't be exploited. Like, we have experience, like, we're doing this for a reason. So it's a blessing and a curse. I hate to think that I'm adding to the problem, but it's like we're sitting in, like you mentioned, in society with social media. That's where it's at. That's how you get your name out these days. So, you know, TikTok happened on a whim, just me saying something that I say in everyday life, and it went viral. And I said to Mike, I think this is going to be it. I need to learn how to do this. You know, it's been going hard since September of last year. And it's amazing because, like, the payoff, it's been incredible. It's emotionally exhausting. It's
filming is emotionally exhausting.
Yeah.
Any kind of filming.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. You know, and doing it all right here on my phone. But yeah, it's something. But the biggest question is, what is a Kinkajou? Where can I get one? You know, I wish it would be, how can I help?
Yeah. Yeah, and that's, now, do you guys do Patreon?
Oh yeah.
Okay, good.
Yep.
So we look at society now as social media. This is what we're doing. We are a couple 100 miles apart, and we are able to talk to each other and discuss these things. But hopefully the outcome from these interviews, and listen, I'm like I said, I'm nobody. Tyler said it in one of his messages to me, that I'm nobody. And I agree. I am not, but I feel like in my everyday life with my animals and my passion that I can offer something to somebody. And if I can help one person, I'm good with that. So when people see this, that question of where can I get one should not happen. It should be, what is it? And how can I help? And if I were to want to work towards getting one, what do I have to know? What's the most important thing to know? So for somebody that's seriously contemplating that, what is your advice to those people?
Well, for those, and I say as a blanket statement, Kinkajous aren't pets. I by no means believe that they should be illegal. I just believe, and I know factually, I know statistically, that there is an extremely small percent of people that are able to acquire these animals appropriately, care for them appropriately, and keep them their whole entire life. So if you take a few minutes and you look over my website and you read my literature, that's the message that's there. If I told people, if my mission statement was not everyone should own Kinkajous, everyone's going to say, I'm different. I can do it because that's what I did, you know, but I'm not trying to, I hate to say it because I don't like the words, but guess what? I was different because now we've got the world's only Kinkajou sanctuary and organization, you know, like we ran with it. But I do have on my website, it's called Kinks Aren't Pets, and it's, I think, 22 important points people need to consider. But what I always tell anyone who says, how can I get your job? Which I love that they ask because I don't get paid.
Yeah, that's fantastic.
Is go to your local labs. Yeah. I always tell them that. They'll go, what do you do for work? What's your job? And I'll say, I'm a manager, an editorial manager for a financial company, obviously. You know, like, but yeah, what's your job? So go to local wildlife rehabs, go to your local exotic sanctuaries, start volunteering and learn and get experience and meet people and talk to people in the industry, but you need to be present. You need to be hands-on.
Yeah.
You want a Kinkajou, you want a lemur, you want anything, go somewhere to find that hands-on experience. Talk to owners, talk to credible owners, not the people that are just going to post the cute pictures on the internet. No, you need to find people that are going to tell you the good, bad, and the ugly. Because if someone's telling you, oh my God, and there's so many people that are like, oh my God, it's the best pet I've ever had. And I'm like, oh wait, you don't even need to tell me. I promise you that Kinkajou's within its first year of life.
Yeah. And in 6 months, you're going to be calling me.
Yep. Yep.
Oh yeah.
And those are the things that set a rescue apart from others. And you said it, go to credible people. Don't just go to one person. Get a variety of responses, because if you go to 12 people, 20 people, you're going to get a variety. You're going to get people that are going to tell you, hey, you know, I made a mistake, but I'm living with that and I'm not going to change it because I took the response. I made that decision and I'm responsible. Whereas you're going to find other people that are going to say, hey, you know what? I'm just going to pawn this off on somebody else because I don't want to do it no more, you know? So we'll link the website and everything in the video description, which I'm really, really bad. I'm not really good at the whole description thing, but at least that's what ThinkIQ, which is something I have downloaded into my YouTube thing. It tells me I suck all the time. So
if you need me to write it, that's what I do. Yeah. That's what my job is. So
okay. Yeah. You may do that. It may be something that'll help. Like I said, I tell people at work all the time, I'm not a word engineer. That's not what I'm here for. I'm not here to write SOPs. I'm not here to, I write an SOP and I give it to one of our amazing engineering staff people. And I always tell her, please word engineer this for me and I will owe you forever. And she tells me, don't worry about it, Paul, I got it. And she makes it look pretty and then I feel a little better. But the fact that you're rescuing an animal that I would probably guess maybe 3 or 4 out of 10 people don't really even know what it is pretty cool. Where do you see Kinkatopia? I can't even say it. Just punch me through the computer screen. Where do you see this going? I'm really bad with some of this stuff, you guys. Just I always tell people when I do these videos, I'm like, hey.
Oh,
Sorry.
Oh, it's a hairless cat. That's so weird.
Nudity. Let's hear
it.
it. Let's hear it. Where do you see it going? What's the plan?
in a few years, hopefully, you know, this definitely expansion is definitely a big one. I would like to see, you know, the more exposure and more opportunities to promote to a bigger audience. Because one thing I will mention, I remember having Tyler here one time, and that was one of the specific questions I asked him. I asked him, Tyler, we have multiple viral, why isn't this not really getting noticed? And it's like, it's a very unique creature. Mm-hmm. It's just, come on. It's not like we have koala bears. Like we have koala bears, feels like a special dog, you know, would be taken off times 10, but it's a hard thing because it's a very unique creature. Mm-hmm. That's not drumming this immense response. And I'm hoping with the social media that's as that continues to grow, you know, hopefully, you know, one of these days she gets verified. I really would like to see, you know, the accounts, her social media, get those little blue check marks. I'd like to see, you know, Wikipedia pages created about it. Like, I just want to see that there is an outlet. So when there is somebody like Alex comes along, like, where do I know this stuff? You know, it's readily available and can contribute to helping others. Really, it's really helping, you know, helping others get educated and helping, you know.
There's something to be said for animal social media. I'll say animal social media now, and the fact that over the last year we've obviously dealt with the pandemic, and what are people really not been able to do anything. And I think it's something that could be done media-wise, where maybe you do, like, this Zoom platform is great. We used it at work one time, and I was like, oh, I'm going to do interviews on Zoom because it's super simple to use. Like, even I can do it. I didn't even have to ask my kids to help me, which is awesome because they usually mess with me anyway. So, but to be able to do something with, you know, Zoom or some sort of social media with classroom presence, where you don't necessarily have to be in a school in San Francisco, but you can have up to 100 people on here.
No, that's with COVID. I mean, I used to, like I said, this is built into our home, right? Like, we're in a residential area, so I would invite people in, you know, and we didn't charge anything. And it just, when we had half our numbers, like, I was more comfortable with it, with the numbers. And it really was like, when the social media took off and COVID happened and all of a sudden everything was virtual, it was like, oh my God, this is such a relief, because we doubled our census. We doubled our amount of Kinkajous during COVID. I mean, the way that our family members, and I don't call them followers or supporters, like, they're our family. Like, they carried us, like, we didn't even have to ask for anything. It was incredible. Like, you know, there's all these places that maybe they're open to the public and you have to give a donation to get in, and they're suffering. So, you know, I didn't seek any outside, like, COVID relief or anything like that. I feel comfortable, but we didn't need to. We were so blessed. We built, I mean, we redid the inside enclosure. We built a couple of cages outside. Like, it was amazing. Like, and it's still going. That momentum's going. The tricky thing with what we do is that everything's nocturnal. So when it comes to lighting, the animals don't really do well with a light, you know, like a spotlight being on them. I'm not opposed to it, like, totally cool with it, but I would like to keep to a more virtual platform or social media presence, or pre-record something. We've got people following us on YouTube, God bless them, because I don't really put much up there. So that's something that I'm going to have Michael, you know, start doing filming and editing and doing that. But like I mentioned earlier, my day job is amazing. you know, working in what my degree is in, but it's time for me to focus on Kinkatopia. If and when I can get a salary from this and get, you know, funded and I can sustain myself, then it's going to be looking for land and, you know, building and to my knowledge, the first in the United States, I think there's one in Europe, don't quote me, but building the first entirely nocturnal sanctuary, public sanctuary.
That would be pretty cool.
To my knowledge. So, you know, and we have the Kinkajous, all the mammals here are nocturnal. So we do have some flying squirrels. We have the owl monkey. We recently, a dream animal of mine is a small spotted genet. We brought home our genet. You know, all the cats obviously are nocturnal. So, you know, kind of playing around with different species, but the Kinkajous will always have my heart. But that's where I very much would like to see it. And again, my job is amazing. It's just, we're facing going back to the office in September and I'm like freaking out. I've literally built a zoo during the pandemic.
Hey.
And like, how am I supposed to get up and drive an hour to work and drive an hour home and take care of myself and take care of the animals? Like, I'm panicking a bit. So
I definitely hear that. And
yeah.
And to your credit of keeping a full-time job, I have 27 snakes. That's nothing. I don't even think I have that many anymore. That takes no time. You have 17 small children.
Yeah.
When people ask me, hey, what do you do when you go to Cody's? Do you like play with venomous snakes? No, I pick up crap.
Yeah, right.
What do you mean? It's not fun. It's hot. It stinks. By the time I'm done, I don't want to see another poop. Like, people don't realize, everybody thinks that it's all fun and games. And, you know, we as animal keepers, and I'll say that as full tilt, whether it's fish or birds or mammals or reptiles or amphibians, it's a full-time job if you have a lot of animals, and to see that, you know, every animal has its different level. Like I said, I have a bunch of snakes. I throw a bowl of water in on Monday. Most times, unless the snake is a complete idiot and tips the bowl over, which 50% of them, they have water on Friday still, and I feed them, and then they do their thing, and I shovel that out, and we're good. But a Kinkajou, like you said, is an animal that needs some enrichment. It needs some sort of contact. It needs to be fed on a regular basis. This is why I think we have 4 lizards here, because I just don't have the time to feed every day a whole bunch of animals. It's so much. It's so taxing. And, you know, you talk about doing YouTube and editing videos. And one of the other reasons I did Zoom like this, I don't edit any of this unless there's a conversation that afterwards somebody calls me up and says, hey, could you take that out? Because I really, no worries. That's not a problem at all. I don't care. I'll take it out. But other than that, I just take this video and insert it in between my intro and my outro, and I'm done. I don't want to overthink it. I don't want to overdo it. I want everybody just to get the raw, broken down format. And when you take that raw, broken down format of Kinkatopia, how much bigger are you looking? Like, I love the idea of a nocturnal facility. Are you talking about actually opening, like having something where people would come at night, where it would be open in the evening instead of during the day?
Absolutely, yeah.
And then also, I can mention this because no one else is gonna. I'm not worried about. We're also in the process, because it's gonna take it takes like months and months and months for approval. But I submitted for Kinkatopia to the Guinness Book of World Records as being the largest Kinkajou sanctuary in the world.
That's cool. And those are things that, listen, I like to, one of the things I like to do is think about different ways you can kind of help stuff. And sometimes I throw ideas out and Cody will look at me and say, that was terrible. And I'm like, yeah, you're right. But if you
Cody's got one of the coolest, I think probably the coolest, like, when it comes to reptiles.
Oh, wait till you've not seen anything yet, buddy.
Just what he said so far, he's probably got. I'm not gonna lie, I'm a little jealous of it.
He's yeah. There's a lot going on, but
Because we just want to keep our presence known. We do have, unfortunately, we can't speak publicly about it yet, but I guess next month, like we have had some like really cool stuff going on and projects working on it. I keep saying I signed a DNR, but it's a non-disclosure.
Yeah.
You know, so we do have some really cool stuff in the works, like everything. And it's all, again, it's all because of TikTok. That's been the exposure. That's where people are seeing us. So, I mean, I try to give our family, our audience, you know, what they ask for. And, you know, the YouTube thing, that's what they've been asking for and stuff like that. We like to cover everything, everything. If you Google Kinkajous, we're going to come up, you know, if you Google where to buy a Kinkajou in Florida, we're going to come up, you know, anything like that. So yeah, so we very much, and we just play around, like we just experiment. We like to cover all the bases. So
yeah, one of the things that I committed to was in doing YouTube, I won't do animal videos. And it's because I'm not an expert.
Yeah.
Do I know a lot about my animals? Yes. But I'm not an expert, so I'm not here to teach you. If my kids' friends come over, I know everything here. I can educate them on what it is. I don't want to say I don't know enough. I'm sure I could do it if I really wanted to, but guess what? I don't. So Patreon is a big deal. I've toyed around with the idea of doing Patreon stuff, but I've always said if I'm going to do Patreon, I want to donate half of that money that comes in to some sort of charity, some sort of sanctuary, something that at the end of the day, it's going to mean something. Half of that money will pay for internet and all that other stuff that goes along with it. But the other half would go to, you know, taking care of something, conservation of some sort. So
love that.
I give you guys a ton of credit for doing something like this. And I'll be honest, Mike, does she rub it in a lot that you said that this wouldn't work? Does she rub it in?
There's been quite a few times, but it's actually, you know, it's literally that's how most things that take off. It's like there's always that one guy. I just happen to be that guy who said that's not going to take off.
Now it's just funny to talk about because it speaks to, you know, I can't even wrap my head around it. Like it literally, like, I mean, it's cliche, and in like the 12-step program we go to, they're like, you'll have a life beyond your wildest dreams. But like I sit here and I'm like, I couldn't even imagine this, you know, like I used to, and I think with now, like, again, hitting 1 million on TikTok, and we brought the Instagram up. I think we're approaching 50,000 there. And it's like, I organically had, obviously TikTok didn't exist, but on Instagram, you know, I had those organic numbers back with my old organization, and I was wiped clean of everything, you know, consequences. But so this whole these 3 years have just been hitting the pavement, and how can we get numbers, and how can we get people to notice us so we can get our mission noticed, and so we can help more animals, you know. And that's been like in the hamster wheel. And like Mike said, it's so niche. Now you mentioned the koala bear, but there's this guru, this financial guru who works for the company that I work for. And, you know, I sit down and talk to him at every retreat we have. We have an annual retreat, and he and I were talking about Kinkajous, because my nonprofit, because he is like on the board of nonprofits, like this man's got it, right? And he's like, you need to make the Kinkajou, the koala bear. No one owns them. They're not in the homes in the United States, but every single person knows what a koala bear is. That's what we want Kinkajous to be. Now, unfortunately, they're in a lot more homes than they should be, but that's the point. And it's awesome that you brought up the koala bear, because I'm sitting here like.
Well, I brought it up because, like I said, I asked her, like, Tyler, multiple times, why is this not working? He goes, just he told me flat out, he's like, it's just not something nobody like really knows about.
But here's the thing. This is the best part of somebody not knowing about it. Your passion and the way you carry yourself about it is what's going to excite people. I watch Think Media. I love Sean Canal. He's amazing. Check him out. They talk about growing YouTube organically. And one of the things he says is you can't judge your YouTube channel until you have 35 or more videos on there. Don't judge it at 5 or 6 or 10 or 12 or 15 or 20. You need to judge it when you have enough material there for people to really see. And I give Tyler a lot of credit. I mean, but it's again, it's a mainstream thing. It's reptiles. If you go on and Google reptiles, you see Chucklehead Chandler and Tyler, and you see all these guys that are doing very risky things. And to the layman in person that doesn't really understand it, they just think that's normal. And I know that for a fact because I work with 500 people, and the 500 people that I communicate with, and I probably don't communicate with all of them, but there's 500 people there. And every time I mention that I work with venomous snakes, the first thing I hear is, do you handle them? And I'm like, well, yeah, with a hook. And they're like, no, you just don't pick them up like the guys on YouTube. And I'm like, no, like that's bad. And they're like, why is it bad? They do it. So when you hear about a Kinkajou and you see something on social media, on Facebook, look at this animal that I got, the first thing people think is, oh my God, that's so cute. I have to have one.
Yep.
They buy it, and a year later, they're calling you and saying, oh my God, what did I get myself into?
It's true. Or oh God, there's some of them. And again, like the TikTok blessing and a curse, but there's this one video I think about, and it happened, kind of shortly. It happened within the last 6 months, but it's of these guys in a car, and they've just got a Kinkajou loose. And they're like, yeah, we just, they just bought it or something. And this Kinkajou, and it's an older Kinkajou, maybe it's at least like a year or two loose in their car. And like the video went super viral, and everyone kept tagging me in it and tagging me in it. I'm just sitting there like,
yeah,
because I'm not going to be one to be like, this upsets me. Like, I'm not going to vocally talk about it. If someone wants to come to me and ask, but I don't give my opinion unless it's asked for.
Yeah.
And that was just like, and I see that, and it's just, and I see a lot of it. And you do, whether it's venomous or not, everyone always thinks it's a slow loris too. That's always a popular one. They think it's that's venomous or it's poisonous. I'm just like, oh my God.
Oh, what?
But,
Or it's a monkey.
yeah.
Oh, okay. I'm like, what the?
Or yeah, it's a monkey. Oh yeah. But,
and listen, a Kinkajou, I know what it is because I'm an animal person. But some animals, you just said something. I have no idea.
Slow loris.
Yeah, I have no.
Oh,
idea.
it's a venomous mammal. It has X in its.
Really?
Well, I guess it would be poisonous. No, I think it is.
It would hurt you from the sounds of it.
No, it doesn't bite and it's venomous. See, I don't talk about things either. So note to self, Google slow loris, but it has underneath its armpits because you tickle it and it puts its arms up in the air. It's a terrible problem in the pet trade. This poor cute little animal. Same thing.
Listen, that cat is freaking me out.
I know, isn't she? She's the mistress. This is my competition.
Look at this. Look at its nose. It's so cool.
It's just trying to manipulate me.
Yeah. We have we have a couple dogs, but my son just got a purebred German Shepherd, a long-haired Shepherd. So he's like 14 weeks old, 15 weeks old, and he is
that's cute.
Bigger than our 5-year-old Pit. So he's going to be a monster, and he is obnoxious. Smartest dog in the world, but extremely dumb.
Go figure, right?
The big oof. He just flops around. So, but yeah, I mean, so with the plans potentially to open a nocturnal type facility, are you looking to do it all outside, all indoors, a mixture of both? How do the animals do? How do they do like outdoors here in Florida?
Well, we have most of ours outdoors. They're rainforest mammals, so Florida pretty much mirrors the elements. Mm-hmm. Now we're dealing with captive Kinkajous that aren't from the rainforest, obviously. Mm-hmm. But they're pretty good after they get their first year under their belt. But, I'm out there with frozen fruit and ice and Italian ice and, and trying to keep them cool on the very hot. I imagine it all to be outside. also can't imagine not living where my animals are. So obviously there's a lot to figure out. Land in South Florida is extremely expensive. So that will be a miracle.
Yeah.
It's hard to imagine leaving everything we've built here and going elsewhere, but you know, we'll see.
It's difficult. I don't know if I could leave. I don't know. I'm a control freak with some of this stuff, so it's like I couldn't do it. There's no way. I would go nuts. So
yeah, I can't imagine, but you know, that's the idea. But you know, stage 2 has to happen before stage 3. So right now, riding with it and trying to figure out, because it's very exhausting. You know, I've got a couple part-time things that I do as well. So it's like, and then the round-the-clock animal care, and then the 9 to 5. So it's but I can't keep going like that forever. I can't. So you know, we'll see what's in the plan, but I just keep speaking it into existence and putting a foot in front of the other, and you know, hopefully
if you build it, they will come.
Exactly. It's already proven 100%.
Yes. I was going to say, you have 17 animals that somebody paid. God, they have to be 5,000, right? 5K, 6K.
They're usually like 25 to 3,000.
Okay. So $3,000 times 17 animals. There's some crazy people out there.
I always joke. I always say, all of our assets have heartbeats.
That's a fact.
Yeah.
That is a fact.
But they all are animal surrenders except for our one, who's rescue trash can, was found in a dumpster.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. So, but she was definitely, you know, and she has more of a captive appearance to her. I noticed that the wild caught and the captives do have distinguishable features. But so she's our only true rescue, but she did come, obviously someone had her. But yeah, everyone else, owner surrenders, and literally every single owner they stand behind the mission. They're okay with me, you know, respectfully telling the stories of why the animals came here. They will openly tell people these animals are not pets. You know, it's been very interesting too, to see how, you know, because on the social media, like, yeah, I do the cute stuff and I do the trends, but we're also, you know, I'm also getting here and, you know, after a long day of fighting with a Kinkajou, and maybe that, I don't really go on and I don't show injuries or anything like that. I'll talk about them after the fact, but you know, like a really hard day where maybe I'm feeling like I got cornered, or like an emotional issue with one of the Kinkajous or something, you know, I talk about the bad stuff. I show the mess of the room, you know, what a day in the life is like, you know, and we try to do that routinely, because it's so important for people to see, like you mentioned, oh yeah, people think I just go and hang out with the animals. I always joke and I'm like, you guys have no idea how much poop, like
that's a lot of poop
every single day, like whoo.
Yeah. And they're mammals, so they're 100 times worse than a reptile. I mean, a reptile, you feed it poops, especially snakes. That's why they're the best pet. You throw a rat in, they eat, a week later, they poop. You can clock that. Like, I know, this is it. But the dogs, they crap all the time. Make a mess everywhere. The tortoise.
Yeah.
He's another problem child.
Oh, God.
50-pound sulcata tortoise, that he's a terror. But again, the sulcata tortoise is another one of those animals that is really super cute in the pet store.
Yep.
They're $19.99. But 4 or 5 years down the road, when it's knocking over your end table and breaking stuff, it's no longer a fun pet, you know. And we have a great, I mean, fettuccine is awesome, you know. So, yeah, we have 2 redfoot tortoises, Ravioli and Tortellini, and then we have a sulcata tortoise named Fettuccine. And we tried to get my daughter in New York to name her redfoot tortoise Manicotti, but I think its name is like Bagel or something. I don't know.
That's so cute.
Yeah, she wouldn't stick with the Italian pasta theme.
That's cute. I like that. Very cute.
Well, guys, this has been awesome. I can tell you this much. I definitely want to come down and visit and meet you guys.
Please, yes.
And same thing, you guys come on up here. We can, there's so much there's so much stuff that people don't realize that's here in Florida. Like I didn't even know we live like 20 minutes from Wild Florida. I didn't know that until my daughter had a job there and worked there. So it was super cool. But if you talk about things that like people don't understand the ups and downs that we as animal keepers have, like you said, you have a bad day, whether it's cornering an animal. I was moving my first Western green mambas that I ever worked were hatchlings. They were 6, 7, 8 months old. And one of those mambas got away from me, got up on top of a rack, went down behind it. And that snake ended up sitting on top of my foot. And I tell people all the time that those are moments that you learn a very fast lesson that, and even Cody said, wow, I didn't even realize, all I saw was the tail. And when I took the hook and tapped the tail, its head was the same direction and it came this way instead of going that way. And, you learn those things quick. 5-foot Ethiopian cobra, I had Venom Defender gloves on or Hex Armor gloves, whatever. And I was bringing it up above my head and I tilted the hooks upwards and that snake came right down onto my forearms. And I just threw the hook into the enclosure and jumped back. Like those are moments that we have as animal keepers that it's not a proud moment. I'm not telling you this because I'm proud of it. I'm telling you this because sometimes
I relate to every one of these things. I relate to all.
Sometimes people will come up and be like, oh my God, what did you do? And you're just like, I don't want to talk about this. Like, it's not been a good day. I've had a bad day, but people don't understand how many bad things can really happen. Especially with an animal, like you said, they bite. And the last thing you want to do is be maimed or hurt really bad because you wanted to spend $3,000 on a cuddly thing that it's just not a pet.
No.
It's not.
I've had so many people too that the reason we did the Kinkajou etiquette sheet was because people would come over and they'd be like, I'd say the Kinkajous bite, you need to, be really careful and listen to what I'm telling you. And they'd say, oh no, my cat and dog bites me all the time. Like, I don't care if I get bit by a Kinkajou. And I was like, oh, they're not understanding what it's like. So we literally, there's if you get bit by a Kinkajou on the sheet, and you're going to have fangs in you. They're biting into your bone through muscle. I've had nerves severed. The last time I got my, the inside of my palm out, so it's and they constrict you and they got that tail, which is like another arm. So they're on you. They're like zombies.
Yeah.
People have no idea. So, but I think it is so important to talk about the others. 100%. You have to.
And here's the thing: it's social media is a great thing. Like you guys, you have a Patreon, you have Instagram, you have TikTok, you have Twitter.
Everything.
I'm losing my mind. You have all these different avenues that people can ask you questions. And I always tell people, if you really want to know something, the good people are going to answer your question. It may not happen. It may not happen tonight. I absolutely despise when somebody sends you a message on Facebook and then 5 minutes later they send you a question mark. Like I sit here all day long, my phone in front of me while I'm working, and there's a message. I got to respond. Give me a break. Like I have a life. I have a job. That. Give me some time. Yep. So I always tell people, if you have a serious question, ask. What's the worst that's going to happen? Somebody's going to give you're going to give them. Alex is going to give them a legitimate answer, a truthful answer. It's not what they're going to want to hear, though.
A lot of people don't.
And Paul, and that's what separates her from a lot of people.
Yep.
Engage an audience.
Yep.
And that's one of the other things which separates probably Alex from others that you and I see is that despite the immense phone, she literally 24/7. It's sickening in that phone, but she's engaging with each person because that's what matters, and that's how you get that.
I tell him I'm working. He's playing video games. I'm working. Okay. Yeah.
They're not video games. Stop. It's social. What's the word? Social education. I don't know. I'm just throwing it out there.
Whatever. I'm working. So, but yeah, And I wish the people would stop clogging the inboxes with the dumb questions or the where can I get this animal? And I know it's not just me. I know it's across the board. It's just like, so the people with honest to God questions and feedback, it takes me days to get to them because I've got so much other crap on. It's like,
you got to sort through and sift through the.
But it's a lot. It's not. But it's not even like she gave me a little insight to, and this just gives you a little insight to, you know, what's it like, what's it actually like. You know, we finally get to see what it's like to be, you know, some of these big accounts and like kind of like what it looks like. And she showed me, like, Paul, you and I will take answer, you know, 3 messages from like the 3 people who will ever contact us over 2 weeks. I've looked. There's literally thousands.
That's insane.
Thousands.
I'm
and that's
sorry.
the ones who follow. We're not to like requesting, you know what I mean, your request box. I mean, thousands. Like, I just don't know how, like, it's hard.
Yeah, like hundreds.
Well, it doesn't matter. Here's the thing.
Even hundreds.
Hundreds. If I get 10, I would be upset. 100.
Oh, we're falling apart.
You have to read. I don't want to read anything.
Oh, you don't want to read anything. I read for a profession. So by the time I get off of work and it's like, oh my God, I can't even read my text messages. Oh my God.
You need to find like a high schooler. This could work. You need to contact local high school, find out seniors and juniors that are in media, like I call it media club, but there's media classes. Find out who's in media and who needs community service hours. Because you have a 501(c), which is a nonprofit. So if they come and volunteer time, going through inboxes, helping with videos, doing stuff like that, you can sign off on their community service hours. And that's something that they need. And it'll educate those people and give you another link to how many of these kids have 10,000 followers and they do absolutely nothing for it. I don't know how they do it. But
that's you mentioned control freak, but like that's something I just couldn't, like, I can't let go of that. I can't. And like there's such a different way. Like I had Dominique DeFalco. She is in the reptile world, and when I first started TikTok, she you know, and we got going, she was helping me with content and she was creating videos. And it's like, I'm so particular, and she was doing a great job and she was helping, but you know, the way I respond to people and the way that the messages that I want conveyed a certain way, I just can't relinquish control of that. You know, plus I want people to speak to me, you know, rather than, even if it's someone who's part of Kinkatopia, you know, I want to be the one who's facilitating that communication. That's really important to me, but it really has been eye-opening in like, there have been some people, you know, friends of ours with large accounts, and they like, if you message them on a social media platform, they'll respond right away. And I said to Mike, I said, these people, like, they must literally just be sitting there time, like on their phone, because I can't. And I just, it's a blessing and a curse.
Cody says it all the time. He feels really bad when somebody messages him and it goes 2 or 3 weeks and he doesn't respond to him. He's just like, I've got too much to do. I just can't respond to somebody that just wants to chit chat. It's just, there's not enough time in a day, you know, and I get that. And there's been a lot of times where I'll call him or I'll text him and I don't get a response for 3 or 4 days. Yeah, Cody, I'm talking about you. And he'll respond to me and be like, hey, did you ask me a question? I was like, yeah, it was like 2 weeks ago, buddy. Like, you know, but that's how busy he should be. He's got over 200 animals, not including the 1,000 rats. So, and now crocodilia, and that's just how busy you get. And unfortunately, some people just don't understand that. Like I said, if the good ones are the ones that are responding to you. And you find time to do it, whether it's at night right before you go to bed, early in the morning, in the middle of the night when you wake up and you think about it, you know, it's one of those things that you put that right foot in front instead of the left one.
Well, and they're the people that are giving the lifeblood. Like, you know, we've had like this core of family members like throughout our so many years, and now we've had this influx of other people who are being exposed to us with, again, huge blessing. But then, you know, I feel like the relationships I've had previously that are established are going by the wayside because, you know, I'm spread too thin, and I'm not going to know the new people the way that I've had the ability to, because it's just, again, spread too thin.
Yeah.
So it's never like, and then, you know, fortunately I'm open enough with everyone about my my mental health that, and I think that's important, like just keeping the underlying message, like even if I'm popping it up on my story or something and putting it in a post, like, you know, hey guys, I see you, like I'll get to you, like, you know, it's just, I'm trying to take care of myself. Everyone, that transparency, everyone has, they're very open-minded, they get it, they're very supportive. But I mean, yeah, I'm the first one to say I can't even keep up with, you know, all the comments on posts and stuff, just because it's a lot. And it's amazing because it's like, holy crap, we have like this amazing Kinkatopia army now and these people rooting for us. But until Kinkatopia is my only work, you know, it's a juggling game. So
well, let's
but I never, I'm certainly not, I'm so grateful, you know, it's incredible. It's just I'm an overachiever. I want to tackle it all and I can't.
Yeah, I have huge social anxiety, so a lot of times people are like, hey, let's go out and do this, and it's like,
you're like, no.
Nope.
It sounds like me.
Don't do concerts anymore, which sucks because I really want to go, but there's too many people. I didn't go to Croc Fest, and I'll be honest, I'm gonna be honest because I don't fib. I didn't go because I was upset about the whole celebrity thing. And after the fact, what I should have done was I should have went to support the Gariel and support my friends that were there and not worried about the rest of it. And I screwed up there. But there was over 1,200 people. Probably wouldn't have stayed very long because that's too many people. And to me, it's hard. You know, I tell everybody, you know, mental health is a big deal. And you know, having that anxiety is like I can go to a reptile show. I go to Daytona. I will end up at somebody's table that I know, standing to the side where I'm not in groups of people. You can literally watch me. If a big group of people comes around me, I'm gone. That's it. I don't care what's there. You could be handing me an animal and I will walk away. Don't care. Too many people. Everybody's bumping into me. And it's even worse, like in a Walmart grocery shopping. Like my wife was making my son go with me for a while because she didn't want me to be there by myself because she was afraid I would freak out. And rightfully so. I can tell you one story that really stands out is I was picking something out and I turned and looked over my shoulder and I watched her go down an aisle. And after 10 minutes of walking back and forth, not seeing her, I backed myself into a corner and all I could think was somebody just walked her out of the store at gunpoint. Everybody's wearing a mask in here right now. I don't know who anybody is. I was losing my mind. She came around the corner and saw me and she was like, oh my God, the look on your face, you look like you were going to kill somebody. And it's that big anxiety thing. And for me, my animals are my life. So, you know,
safe place.
Yeah, it's my safe place. And my wife and my kids are amazing too. Don't get me wrong. But it's nice to be able to unwind to something else. And, you know, I live 3 hours from Cody now, 2.5 hours. So I don't get out there nearly as much as I want to. So it's like, that was nice to just go there and, you know, hey, take care of this area, no problem. You know, turn the music on and just start jamming. You know, you just jam through animals, one after another, you know, so.
But it's so funny. You literally described what we do. I do the same thing. I always joke this. Everyone who knows me is every Saturday when I'm cleaning, I take my iPad, throw on Judge Judy, and start cleaning those snakes. And I know Alex was on that music and just, it's you know, it's our meditation because I can't stress it since we're on the topic of mental health, especially in the reptile community. how many guys I've met, you know, talking personally one-on-one, suffering. They're suffering, and they don't know how to communicate that. They throw, I see the hints through their posts, but they're suffering, and you know, I try to help them the best I can. Myself being over 12 years being sober and working in mental health, it's a real thing, because it's bad when we see guys that we know, you know, on there and what appears everything going good, and the next day, you know, suicide, drug overdose.
Yeah, I tell people all the time, I would get up in the middle of the night if I didn't even know you. Anybody that follows me, I don't care. The last thing you need to do is something that's going to take you away from the people that love you. And believe me, they're there. You just can't see them because you're blinded by something that is, it's just a cloud. And that's it. And it's super, super hard to talk about it. It is. It's. I mean, face the fact, like you said, Mike. It's not something that people are. It's easy to open up about. We can sit here and talk about it all day, you know. But it's not easy for people. And I think at the end of the day, you know, like I take medication for my anxiety. I call them, they're my crazy pills. If I don't take one day, it doesn't really affect me, but I need to stay on it because I've tried to wean myself off of it. In my head, that anxiety, that social anxiety is just so crazy that I find myself really amped up. I snap quicker. I yell at the kids, and my kids are older now. I didn't do this when they were younger. I think a lot of this is just stress for myself over the past, 5, 6 years, 7 years, moving from New York to down here, owning my own business, having a great business partner, but things just didn't work out, going back into an industry in the dairy that I just didn't, really want to be a part of, being out midnights, never having a life, my kids playing sports and missing out on stuff, just a laundry list of things. And I'm in such a good place now with my new job and, not new job, but job, and with such a great group of friends that I have now, that it's hard to look back, but it's really hard to see other people going through such turmoil and just have nobody to help them, or think, wait a minute, let me rephrase that, or think they don't have anybody to help them, because we're all here. The animal community is, I mean, in my opinion, it has good and it has bad. It's like everything else, but there's a lot of good. So, people need to remember that we're all here for each other, and contact one of your reptile friends, talk, just get it out there. Like, that's why I love this show. I love doing this because we don't need to talk about reptiles. We don't need to talk about, we just talk, it's just shooting the breeze and having fun, get the word out. So, well, you guys, this has been awesome. I'm going to let you guys go. But before I do, I want to show you something. So I'm very proud of this. So I made this on my 3D printer.
Wow.
It's like a tree stump flower pot.
It is.
So this is going to go in a gaboon viper cage.
I'm going to add, and Paul, I'm literally going to start adding that trope to like the stereotypes of venomous keepers, because it just seems to be getting involved in 3D print. Like, yeah. I wanted to get a 3D printer not too long ago. Like, I really didn't do this. This
right here is a tree stump that I downloaded. I'm going the wrong way. Look. This is a tree stump that I downloaded off of Thingiverse because all the designs are free, right? And my 3D printer was $170. Well,
Please don't give him any more ideas.
It's so much fun. Here's the problem.
It's fun. I have no doubt. We just have other stuff he needs to.
Well, that's good. Listen, Alex. Listen, Linda. listen.
Oh.
No, it's one of those things where, even my wife has said the same thing. She's like, really? What is this? Now, I have 2 of them. So, but I printed, and it's put away, but I actually printed a venomous shift box. So hold on, because now I have to show you. Here, you know what,
You're just
everybody, we're going to end this, and we're going to continue to talk afterwards. So I'm going to link all their information in the description of the video. It'll probably be Alex writing it because she's probably a better word engineer than me. I'm going to cheat. So, but guys, great seeing you. Video airs on Thursday, every Thursday except for last Thursday because I was lazy. And just I had a 3-day weekend coming. I was like, you know what? I'm not doing it.
Heck yeah.
Heck yeah. So, all right, guys, it was great having you guys on. Let me stop the recording.